and we'll be sending you through the recording at the end, as well as the templates that Claire will run through with you today, and a video with a YouTube link that will all come after the session. There is also a short survey that the Geelong Business Festival are putting on for the whole festival. So if you could fill that out as well, it's really, really valuable to make sure we continue to provide good sessions, and you can also win a few prizes. So that's a bit of a plus, not usually what we have for our sessions. So thanks to the Geelong Business Festival for that. And I'll pass on to Claire to go with the session now. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I just wanted to say, if you've got questions, put them in the chat. Sorry, Claire, and she'll come back at the end, and I'll help facilitate that once my computer reboots, and we can address those all at once. So I'll pass over to you.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much everyone for making it along. It is so lovely to see you all, and there are so many people in the session. I need multiple screens on the go. We've got multiple screens of pictures of everyone, so it's so lovely to have you all. And what I will say is I'm still admitting people as they're joining the session, so I'm sure we'll keep growing. As Elise mentioned, everything that you see in today's presentation, including all of the templates and all of the tools, and a follow-up tutorial video, everything's going to be made available to you after this session. So if you want to take notes, by all means go for it, but otherwise you can kind of sit back with a bit of a cuppa and just relax and take it in. I'm going to share my screen with you in a couple of seconds, but I wanted to see all of your faces, because when I do that, I'm going to minimize you and go to the presentation. It's such a joy to be with you all today here, and thank you everyone for making it along. I'm going to share my screen with you, so let's hold tight. Here we go. And hopefully this one works. Okay, share. All right, guys, if I can get a thumbs up that we can see that presentation, that would be absolutely phenomenal. You guys are stars. I'm loving this. Well, thanks everyone for making it along to today's session. As Elise said, my name's Claire, and I'm from the X Word. In case you haven't seen my face already, that is me. That is what I look like. A little bit about me before we kick off. I've been working in client experience for the last 5 years. I've been working with one of Australia's largest out-of-home media businesses, heading up their national client experience team, and working with major clients across Australia and New Zealand. Earlier in the year, I attended a conference and I was asked to speak on client experience. As part of that conference, I had a bit of a aha moment, and I realized that there was a gap in the market for support, training and development in the small business and medium business really space, to provide some additional understanding and support around customer experience and what that means. I know this has been a tough year for so many reasons. In fact, I can't believe that we are so far into this year already. I left my office on the 15th of March, and on that day we took the Christmas tree down. I know now that that was a mistake. Should have left that one up, but that's okay. It has been a challenging time, and I think we can all acknowledge that for just so many reasons. But I think that if there's one positive that has come out of the last few months, it's that it's given us an opportunity to really step back, reflect and plan for what comes next as small businesses. And I am one myself now, so I can start to empathise. I'm going to just drop this down here. And let's get started. Today is really about giving you all some tools to really start to rethink how you engage and connect with your customers, and really to get outside your box. So let's start by just setting the scene. What exactly is client experience anyway, and why does it even matter? Well, if you really want to get official about it, CX, or is what we call it, customer experience, is defined as the sum of all of the interactions that a customer has with your business or your brand, the result of which decides on whether they decide to stay loyal to you and your business or go elsewhere, which hopefully we don't. Now, if there was one thing that really pushed me to start my own business, the X word, it was this. This stat came out last year. A survey was run of ASX listed CEOs, and they said 90% of them said that they believed that by this year, and don't forget we're in September if you can believe it, that businesses will be competing on experience alone. So if you really think about it, it's becoming more and more important. Having an incredible product at a reasonable price is a phenomenal start. But if you make it hard for people to do business with you, it's always going to be a real challenge. As I said, I really wanted to do this particular workshop today because although times have been tough, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us to look at things from a different angle and try and learn something a bit new and fresh. Before we get started, I wanted to paint you a little bit of a picture of customer experience. So let's take a step back to 2016. If we think back to 2016, really the theory was if you did a couple of things really, really well, your customers would stick by you. If you could get them to come in store or commit to a purchase, you'd do well. But by 2017, what we'd realized is that doing a couple of things really well, but in the rest of the interactions with your customers, it was pretty average, it wasn't really working. We needed to start looking at the entire journey from start to finish, if there was a finish, and hopefully there wasn't. They'd just go back and continuously engage with you. All the way from an initial need, the customer required something or a want, through to customer loyalty. Now, by 2018, we had hit a whole new boom, and this is sometimes called the experience economy. It's called that because we saw a major shift from companies and businesses holding all the power to customers holding all of the power. All of a sudden, almost overnight, it felt like they had almost complete control of their choices, and they were able to switch brands as and when they liked with real ease. In 2019, interestingly, we saw a decrease in customer satisfaction. And we know now that that's because expectation is on the rise. They're expecting more and more from us every single day. The democratization of information through the internet predominantly also means, and it's been really encouraged, that we switch brands. If you're not happy with one business, try another. If you're not happy with your insurance company, try another. They make it simple and encouraged for us to switch and change brands, to post reviews and to share experiences with each other. A friend of mine always says, if it's not on Instagram, did it even happen? Well, probably not. And so we arrive at today. It's a really interesting time and highly competitive. Think back 10, 15, 20 years ago. Generally, companies picked one speciality and they rarely strayed from that. They sold electrical goods, furniture, cars, whatever it might be. But we've seen a huge shift over the last few years to really getting competitive and expanding out into completely different areas. One of the really crazy ones that keeps getting me is Catch.com, that used to do the special deals, now sells insurance. I can't get my head around that one. And Amasim, my partner, has a SIM card plan for his mobile phone. We get our gas through now. There's been a complete blurring of industry lines. And so there's been a real shift. The new standard for customer experience has become this. The last best experience that you had is your new minimum expectation. Customers are no longer comparing apples and apples to similar products. They're comparing apples and cars, or cars and washing machines, or earrings and their dentist. Well, probably not their dentist. But in truth, customers aren't comparing products anymore. They're comparing the last best experience that they had. Was their experience seamless, comfortable, friendly? Where did they feel truly understood, and where did they have their needs met or exceeded? In truth, the customer of this year, 2020, has really come to really expect two quite simple things, and this is what we're going to explore today. If my presentation will work. Come on, there we go. To know who I am, not an account number, not a broader business account, and to know where I am on my journey with your brand. I want to give you a really simple example here before we get into how to use the tools and templates that will encourage you to start understanding who your customers are and where they are on their journey with your brands. In my day job, I travel quite a bit, well, until 2020 when travel became non-existent. Last year, I was traveling interstate about each fortnight, and in Sydney, I'd stay in the same hotel every time I went, predominantly for convenience. I knew the hotel back to front, and I calculated that over the 2 years of traveling with the business, I'd pretty much stayed at this hotel every time I'd been to Sydney. It was about 60 stays at this particular hotel over a few years. I went to reception, handed over my driver's license, handed over my credit card, and they checked me in. And I could almost recite the script back to the person on reception as they said it to me. Breakfast is available from 6 until 10 on the ground floor. The gym's on level 7. You just need your swipe card to get in. Did you want to stay for, an extended period? If you did, call reception, etc., etc. The thing is, I'd stayed there 59 times before. And actually what they didn't acknowledge is who I was to them. They had my driver's license, they had my name, and they know that I've stayed with them 59 times prior to today. But instead they used a cookie cutter approach with me as a customer, which wasn't really relevant. And in fact, I would much have preferred, hello, Miss Radbourne, welcome back to our hotel. I hope you have a nice stay. That would have been plenty, and straight up to my room after a long day working. To truly understand who I am and where I am on my journey with your business. It makes a huge difference, and it's what the customer of today has come to expect. In order for you to be able to know who your customers are and where they are on their journey, you'll need to do some work. This does not come simply, and that's what we're going to start today. So let's get cracking. The plan for today, understanding client experience. We've done a little bit of that this morning. We're going to now move on to personas, and that's starting to understand who our customers are and why do we really need to understand them. And then we get into the heavy lifting. We're going to have a look at journey mapping and really starting to emphasize what it's like to be one of our own customers. Journey mapping is a fantastic tool, and as I said at the beginning, all of this is going to be made available to you, including the editable templates. So please don't panic about trying to scroll this all out or build out some post-it notes while you're at home. The activity of journey mapping is super helpful, and it really helps you to identify and empathize with your customers and those personas, and to really start to understand where there's friction, where you might get customers dropping off, and where those opportunities also might appear. So let's get started, and we've got a couple of people joining us in the session. Perfect timing. Part 1, customer personas. Now, I'm sure that you all have extremely varied customer groups and customer personas. One of the first questions I always ask any new clients is, who are your customers? And you can probably imagine some of the answers that I get. They vary wildly. Everyone in Australia is a potential customer. All 25 million people, we would love to come to our restaurant, come and stay in our hotel, whatever it might be. All the way to the other end of the scale, a very, very niche group of clients that are hard to get hold of. Now, it's not that either of these is particularly wrong or right. It's just that they're really difficult to achieve. A good number of customer groups or segments is generally between 3 and 8. Many more than that, and you're starting to get into a place where you're designing many, many complex customer profiles, and it's just hard to keep track of and actually make any use of. Now, the idea of stereotyping your customers does not sound like a great idea. So in real life, we're not suggesting you do this, but it is a really helpful activity to break your customers into groups to start understanding what they need, when they need it, and the types of people that they are. Going through this activity that we're going to talk through shortly will help you to more deeply understand who your customers are, their needs, and be able to customize communication, marketing, and hopefully sales accordingly. So let's look at how we're actually going to go through this process. All right, we're going to discover our customer personas in 3 simple steps. Step one, now we need to start somewhere. So let's start by thinking about what we know about our customer groups. For the sake of this activity, we're going to use a hairdresser as an example. Now, our experience in running a hairdresser tells us there's usually 4 customer groups. Families bringing kids in for haircuts, ladies looking for a cut and colour who enjoy the experience, men looking for a regular trim, usually on a weekend, and a special occasion such as bridal parties or a big birthday. Step 2 is to consider the items which are of immediate relevancy to your business. Now, I'd love to give you a few examples here, and we're going to use the hairdresser, but I had a look at the attendees from today and they're so varied. You'll need to start thinking about what is relevant to your specific business. You probably don't need to worry about what sort of car they drive if they're coming to you for a haircut. So think about what is really valuable for you to have in your persona file for this customer group. Do women usually spend more? And men usually in a rush for a haircut, get in, get out? I know I always love that, you know, scalp massage, happy to pay extra for that part at the end. Are you worried about bringing the kids in for the first time? Do you really want to build a very clear picture, or as clear as you can, of your particular customer groups? The third stage is to give each persona a fictional name and picture, and this really just helps you commit it to memory. That's the really fun part. So once you've painted a pretty clear picture of your customer groups, give them a name, allocate them an image, and so let's see what this looks like in a very, very basic example. All right, who are our customers? These are some very simple ones, and I'm going to show you a complex persona template afterwards so you can have a go at what this looks like. We're going to pretend we own a hairdressers. So we've got our families with children, 1 or more children. We know from our understanding of running our hairdresser, they usually come in weekends or after school. They like a good value appointment. They're not worried about going to the top of the line hairdresser for a special cut and colour. We've got our Melanie persona. She prefers a weekend appointment, and going to the hairdresser is actually her me time. It's important to her. She's happy to spend a bit of extra money and she likes the additional treatment. It's important that we treat her well. She comes back frequently. She's a pretty loyal customer. And so if we've got something like coffee that we can make available to her, then we should absolutely do that. Dave's basically my dad. Pops to the hairdresser or the barber every few weeks, has the same cut every time, wants to get in and out so he can go to Bunnings or mow the lawn or, you know, whatever it might be. Now we're stereotyping here, don't forget. And Jules. Now Jules is our very high value client because what she brings to us is a larger spend, and while she doesn't come as frequently, when she does come, she brings the whole team with her. If there was an opportunity for something extra, a really special occasion, then Jules is the person that we want to send this to. So you can see here in the really simple example, we've been able to segment possible customers that go to a hairdresser into 4 key groups, and how you might be able to tailor your communication, your sales specials, your marketing, whatever it might be, to the relevant customer group. Sending an EDM out to all of these people regarding special occasion hair for weddings might not be particularly helpful, just as advertising men's specials by emailing them to the Melanie personas is probably also going to not get you too far. Post this session, and I'm going to be providing you with this document, which is a customer questionnaire. Now, not all of these questions are going to be relevant to you, but there's some really good thought starters in there. So you can scratch through ones that you don't think are helpful and start looking at those that you think will really provide some insight into your customer groups. These are some great thought starters. And as I said, I'm going to provide this to you. There's some good prompts in that. What you should end up with, and make these as creative as you possibly like, is something that looks like this. We give them a picture, we give them a name, we give them a bio, we really paint a picture as to who these people are, because it's easy to recall them when you're on the floor of your store, when you're on the phone to a customer, and you can really start to keep the customer front of mind and really start to focus on what it is that they need and start to get predictive about what they're going to require from you. This is a really good example of a customer profile or persona. Don't forget that the idea here of customer segmenting or personas is to more deeply understand who your customers are, and then design and curate their experiences around their needs, rather than a one-stop shop that delivers one service no matter who the customer is. On this particular example, you can see here we've given her a name, Jill, a photo, etc. As I said, you can get as creative with this as you like, get the whole team involved. That's what I usually do. Once you have your personas, we really want to aim for maybe 3 or 4, no less than that, no more, or not too many more. We're going to take the next step, which is where we start to empathize with our customer experiences through journey mapping. So this is where it gets into the exciting bit. Once you've got your persona, we are ready to get started. If you think about a customer journey map, it can be a very, very simple and straightforward interaction. A really good example of a straightforward interaction is going to your local cafe and buying a coffee. There's really very limited deviations that a regular customer can take to purchasing their standard cup of coffee. But now pause for a second and just think about a more complex interaction that a customer might have, or a potential customer might have. Imagine taking out a mortgage, buying a new car. Buying a coffee is a simple process with limited options, but a complex mapping process such as a mortgage has many options, and there's no cookie cutter approach that can work for it. It's highly personalized and highly customized, as it well should be when you're committing to something of that standard and value. In this section of today's presentation, I'm going to demonstrate to you how you can create your own journey maps at home that should uncover some really interesting insights for you and your customers. So let's get cracking. As we mentioned in the previous section, you're going to need a persona. So for this particular activity, we've come up with a fantasy cake shop that's called Sweet Treats. We've got 4 personas that shop at Sweet Treats. We've got Mark. He buys a birthday cake every year for his daughter. Last year, he bought a Peppa Pig cake, which went down an absolute treat. Louise. Now, Louise is a lot of us going to her mum's this afternoon. Hopefully we can all visit our mums soon. And she wants to take something that she can enjoy for afternoon tea. Now, Rachel, she's similar to our bride in the previous example at the hairdresser. She's looking for someone to make her a wedding cake, and she's come via a referral. This is a once-in-a-lifetime occasion. And our last persona or customer group, which is a little mini person there on the screen, which is Ben. Ben's got pocket money and he's on his way home, and he's going to spend that pocket money hopefully at Sweet Treats Bakery. So we've got 4 personas that we can possibly use, and this is the process that we're going to go through today. First things first, we want to define the persona or segment that we're going to map out. Don't forget, you'll need one map for each persona that you've got. Their experiences, their needs, and their requirements will be different for each one. On this occasion, we're going to use our Mark persona. Now, Mark's our young dad that's going to be purchasing a cake for his daughter. We know that each of their journeys won't be the same, and they won't need the same product for the same reason at the same time and demand the same level of service. So you'll need to complete, as I mentioned, one journey map for each persona that you have. We've selected our persona, step 1. Step 2 is to walk a mile in your customer's shoes. The aim of a journey map is to empathize with your customers and experience what it's like to do business with you and your brand. Step 3, now this is a learning activity. So to flag with you all, for the sake of today's activity, the answer to all of the questions in the process will be yes. Let me paint you a picture of what this means. If Mark was to go to the local bakery and it was 7 a.m. on a Sunday and the bakery was closed, well, that's the end of our journey map. So for the sake of today's activity, he's going to say yes to everything. And then the last step to completing your journey mapping and to really experience what it's like to do business with you is to really try and empathize with the customer. Really challenge yourself. We all hope we've got perfect businesses and we all aim for that. But if we've got a perfect business, well, there's no point in even doing this activity. So go deep and really challenge yourself. It's just 4 steps. So journey mapping really comes in 4 stages. The first stage is about plotting out our journey map actions. In this stage, what is the customer doing? What are the physical steps that they have to go through to do business with you? For today's activity, I mentioned we're going to be walking in the shoes of Mark, our dad, buying the birthday cake. The second stage of our journey mapping is the planning out of the channel. And when I say channel, I mean communication channel. Where are they doing this particular action? I've put some examples there. Is it online? Is it via email? Is it over the phone? Did they physically come into the bakery and have a conversation with us? Noting the channel next to each of those actions will really help you to identify chronic problems. Is there a particular problem with an online booking form? Is there a problem with phone service? It's a really interesting section and an important one for us to track. Now, part 3 is where it starts to really get interesting. And when I touched on before that we all hope we've got perfect businesses, I can promise you now there is always room for improvement. So part 3 is what we call pain points. Now, don't forget here, the customer is on the other side of the curtain. There may be pain points for us as businesses, but the customers don't care about those. We're walking in the customer's shoes. What are their pain points? Is the delivery time quite long? Is the customer service poor? What are the things that really impact on the customer here? We want to identify those and prioritize those first. And then lastly, opportunities. Where do the persona's needs differ? Might Rachel, our bride-to-be, require a sit-down meeting, a complimentary piece of cake and a coffee for her $3,000 wedding cake? I don't know how much a wedding cake costs, so hopefully it's about that. I don't have a clue. She'll require different service, a different level of service, I should say, than say Louise, who's just coming into the bakery and picking something from the counter. All right, I think we're ready to get started. So here is how we make a journey map at home. Now, firstly, let me start by saying that pre-COVID, each of these little boxes would have been one of these Post-it notes. You can get as creative with this as you like. So I'm going to provide you with this digital template that you'll be able to manipulate exactly how you want it and edit exactly how you need. But you can get as creative as you want. Use Post-it, you can draw it out, you can do whatever you like. Just get as creative as you can. I'll also make the templates available so you can have a play with those. The first stage of our journey map, we really want to think about what the client's doing, those actions, and we identified already that we're going to be using our Mark persona. So let's step through the actions that Mark is going to go through to purchase his cake for his daughter. Now, Mark, first step, he's going to check in with us to see whether our bakery is open, and it's 7 a.m. on a Sunday and we're not open yet. So instead of going physically into our bakery, he's going to browse our website or social media, as people do mostly now, and he's going to see what cakes we've got available. Mark spots a cake that he likes. Now, the Peppa Pig cake went down a treat last year and he's going to stick with the same one this year, my personal favorite. He likes the cake and he wants to book it, but he can't do that online. So he gives us a call. Sweet Treats confirms, yes, we can make the cake and we would absolutely love to, but we need you to complete a booking form, which is on the website. So would you double back, fill out the form? That would be great. Mark navigates to the website, completes the form and hits the submit button. I am done. But he doesn't receive any kind of confirmation. I think we've all been there. He's not sure if it's gone through, and so, you know, he wants to make sure that the cake all works and it's happy. His daughter's happy and the Peppa Pig cake all goes through well. So he does the form again, and this time he gets a confirmation. Okay, great. I think that part is done. Sweet Treats have had a few issues recently with late cancellations and people who haven't been paying. So we do require that he pops into the cafe and pays for the cake prior to pick up. He does all of that, and then the following week, Mark comes in to Sweet Treats Bakery and picks up his Peppa Pig cake. Job done. Those are the physical actions that Mark had to go through to purchase the cake with Sweet Treats Bakery. Let's have a look now at the communication channels. We talked about why it's important to track these earlier. So you can see here underneath each of those items, and as I said, these would be post-its with another post-it on top, identifying the communication channel that these are occurring on. So initially, Mark starts online, he goes to Facebook, he might go to Instagram, see what's happening, read some reviews, see if the cakes look nice, which they do, so he wants to go ahead. He calls, then he unfortunately doubles back to the website again, fills out the form, sends an email through with the form attached, then he goes to the store and purchases the cake, and then he goes back the following week to pick it up. Don't forget that in the experience economy, which is where we are at the moment, clients will seek out reviews or check your social media channels prior to engagement with you. So whilst you can't control what that is and what it looks like, it's always important that at least we know about it. Let's get to the interesting part, the pain points. Now, as I identified earlier, don't forget that the pain points are those occurring to the customer, not to you as a business. Ordering might be hard. It might be hard to get hold of specific things that customers require, or your website maybe is difficult to use. Customers don't care about that. They care about what is important to them. So keep that front of mind in this activity. Now, we know that these are fictional journey maps, but we're going to have a look at a couple of the pain points to Mark that could occur in this particular example. The obvious one here is that bloody form. It's so frustrating. I think we've all been there where we're not sure if it's gone through, and there's just risk that, you know, he doesn't get any cake where he rocks up on the day and there's 2 cakes there for him. There's just worry there. And that's something that Mark doesn't really need to worry about, nor do we want him to worry about. The other friction point here that really stands out for me is the need to physically go in store and pay for the cake. A really smooth and frictionless process might mean that Mark could view the cakes, select the one he wanted, and pay online, meaning he only pops in on the day to collect the cake. Or if we were really smart, maybe we'd even deliver the cake. A really straightforward and smooth process. And lastly, we're going to get onto the opportunities. Now, I have done this with multi-million-dollar businesses. It is incredible what you will learn from doing this activity on one sheet of paper, on one whiteboard, on one table, however you choose to do it. You'll start to see really simple opportunities that you can use to leverage, upsell, deepen connections with customers, deepen engagement, a whole range of different things. I've popped in a few examples here, but what I really want you to do is think about what this looks like for you and your businesses. I'd really encourage you to have a go once you've identified your personas. As we talked about before, what a bride might need won't be the same as our 12-year-old purchasing a sausage roll or a muffin or whatever it might be. And to be honest with you, the value is a little bit different as well. How about this? How about now, instead of Mark having to check which cakes you have available, we're going to proactively email him a few weeks before his daughter's birthday, the last time that he purchased a cake with us. We're going to make him some suggestions about the cakes that we've got available and offer him the same one as last year, should he choose to do that, which on this occasion he did. We're going to offer him a direct link to book on the website and to consider some simple, low value, high impact extras. Could we write a message on the cake for Mark? Would he be able to type that into a form online and we just take that information and right away we run with it? We know Mark's got plenty on his plate, so the other thing to consider would be things really, really simple. Stock candles, stock sparklers and balloons. Make Sweet Treats Bakery the one-stop shop for all things birthdays. If you really wanted to make an impact on your customer, you could also think about things like a personalized note or a personalized card. There's some fantastic opportunities for really, really simple value adds here that are low value, but really high impact, personalized. Really what it comes down to is we know who Mark is and we know where he is on our journey with our brand. We make it really, really simple for Mark to do business with us, and we really encourage him to keep returning to Sweet Treats. We make it simple. We send him a reminder. It's personalized. We know exactly what he requires. It's seamless, smooth, and delivers fantastic service. So now we have this incredible resource in front of us. We can fully start to grasp the experience that Mark has gone through to do business with us. My question to you is this: Where are we going to start the cleanup? Where are their problems? That form that Mark identified that doesn't particularly work very well, that would be such an easy win and such a simple solution to make it easy to do business with us. And where are those moments of magic? Imagine picking up the cake and there was candles ready to go in the bag with it, and, you know, a birthday card from the bakery to our birthday girl. There's some fantastic, really, really simple and really engaging opportunities to really level up your customer experience. But really what it comes down to is listening to what your customers want, understanding what their needs and requirements are, and then delivering those. So now you have your responses. Well, I hope that you will have your responses. It's really time to start reflecting on those. Using the templates that I'm going to be providing to you post this session, I really want to know where you felt like you were on track, or did you really hit the nail on the head? Were there moments of magic that you identified? Where could you improve the friction points or pain points? Was there potential for customers to go elsewhere? How can you keep them loyal by understanding exactly what it is that they require and really starting to deliver that? To recap on what we've talked about today, and we're going to open it up for plenty questions. We've got about 10 minutes left. We talked about what client experience is and why it matters. We talked about our personas and really starting to understand who our customer groups are, starting to personalize and understand exactly who they are, rather than using a cookie cutter approach for each and every customer and client. And then we started talking about the 4 stages of journey mapping: the actions that customers have to go through to do business with you, the channels in which they occur, communication channels, the pain points, and the opportunities. Journey mapping is really about taking that extra step to empathize what it's like to do business with you and your brand, and to really seek out those moments of magic. It's a really simple, and it can actually be a really fun activity to do. So I'd really encourage you to, as I said, get creative. If you've got people that you work with, get the whole team involved. It can be a fantastic team building activity as well. And I think your customers will really appreciate it when they feel like you're really hitting the nail on the head, rather than receiving another piece of communication that has obviously just been sent to every single person on a mailing list. I'm now going to open it up to some questions. So let's stop sharing this so I can see. I'm hoping that anyone might have some questions. I'd love to be able to answer some. Feel free to quiz me on everything and anything.
I'll start, Claire.
Great.
Just how long, you know, if just say you have 3 personas, how long would you sort of give for an activity like this?
Yeah, look, it really depends on how complex your business is. It can be a pretty straightforward activity, or it can be pretty complex. It's a really fantastic activity to really do at any time. In particular, when you add new products, new services, that's always a great opportunity to look at the journeys. Are they changing? Are they evolving? Or are your customers changing or shifting? That's a really fantastic time to look at it. It can vary. It can be anywhere from an hour to, you know, a whole day, depending on how complex your customer experience is and customer journeys are. But make it fun, like really enjoy it. I will be completely honest with you. You can see I'm in my spare bedroom. That entire wardrobe was covered in Post-it notes, but it didn't look particularly professional. So I whipped them all down before I came into this session. But I'd really encourage you to get creative with it.
Okay, great. There looks like there's a couple of questions in the chat now too.
Yeah, great.
So I'm not sure who Video Conference Coach is, but how many times would you do this process every quarter? And when you're going solo,
yep.
Do you recommend talking to someone to help with the process?
Yeah, so in my experience, it works well as what we tend to do is an annual activity. So we get them all set up. As I mentioned earlier, if there's any changes to products, services, you're targeting new customer groups, or you're getting any kind of red flags, major drop-offs of customers. There's a really competitive new business in the market. Anything that's a red flag moment, that's a great opportunity to go in and check them all. It's an annual activity, and I would recommend that you check in on those every 6 months unless one of those pops up and you're seeing a big shift in customers. As I said before, you know, major drop off of customers, big peaks in complaints, any of those kind of red flag moments. When you're going solo, do you recommend talking to, well, you can always talk to me. I'll be more than happy to provide any support that I can. It's each to their own. As I said, these are highly personalized based on the type of business that you run, and your customers are going to be very different. I'd be more than happy to provide any advice, and happy, Elise, for you to share my contact details if that's okay with you.
Yep, sure, of course.
Great.
And then there's just Tim Murrell from Murrell Group has just said, I was wondering what trends you see developing in how customer expectations might develop in the next 2 to 3 years.
Oof, good question. Anything's possible, and it's COVID, so really anything's possible.
Exactly.
Look, I think it's going to continue to be super competitive, and competitive in all kinds of weird and wonderful ways. I think we're going to see a much bigger extension of that blurring of industries with, you know, picking up and putting down of products. You know, Amasim doing gas, maybe they'll stop doing mobile plans if that's not possible anymore, pivoting left, right and center. I mean, I think it's just a very, very dynamic environment, but in terms of client experience, I think expectation is going to continue to climb and climb and climb. And it's each of our responsibilities as business owners or managers to make sure that our CX is at a continuously high standard. Consumers won't stand for, you know, silly mistakes. One of the things that, an example from my perspective is, I went to Italy on holiday 12 months ago. I would have been there, used an online booking platform to book all of my hotels. I'm still getting emails now about booking those hotels, despite the fact that I used that exact platform to book and pay for those hotels this time last year. That kind of cookie cutter, well, you're on our database and you Googled going to Italy last year, or searched going to Italy last year and booking a hotel through our platform, you must still want to go, despite the fact that you're back in Australia and there's no flights and you already went. That kind of thing is, you know, becoming less and less acceptable, and expectation is just continuously climbing.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience recently when we went into the second lockdown in Victoria in particular. A really big travel brand was still marketing to go, you know, to New South Wales and Queensland just after we were told you won't be going anywhere for 6 weeks. So I thought that was a little bit irresponsible, and kind of they should have been looking at where their markets were before sending that out.
Yeah, it's simple. Understand who your customers are, understand where they are on their journey with your business, and then serve them the information that is relevant to them at that particular time. If you can do that, you'll be hitting the nail on the head every time, rather than just coming up with a particular sale or a marketing plan or whatever it might be, and then just hoping that it gets to the right people at the right time. If you really understand who they are and what they need, you'll continuously deliver to them exactly what they want when they need it, and it will be far, far more relevant.
So we've got a question from Holly that says, do you specialize in any particular industry?
Not really. From my perspective, my expertise is really in client experience. I worked in tertiary education for almost 10 years, and I've been working in media, advertising and media for the last 5. So I suppose those are kind of specialities, but really just CX in general. So if anyone has, as I said, any questions at all, I'd be more than happy to engage with you and provide you any feedback and support that I can.
Yeah, great. We've got one here from Chrissy. Do you recommend any programs such as Dubsado, hope I said that right, for customer automation?
Chrissy, I probably want a little bit more context from you. Are you thinking in terms of like a CRM-esque system, or are you thinking more of like a CX specific, like a Qualtrics type product?
Sorry, my dog's just
You're fine.
front door. So I was thinking more around the CRM in making that customer journey far more enjoyable through those customer automations. So I'm looking at that for my business as well. Those kind of customer automatic replies that keeps them engaged. Those touch points along the way to reassure them that their order's been processed or their order's been delivered, or, you know, depending on the type of industry that you're in. Would you recommend such CRM programs for businesses like that?
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think the language that you're using and what you're describing is super relevant, and I'd really encourage you to continue down that track if you're finding that it's working for you. If your business is at that size, obviously, as I said, there's quite a lot of people in here, so I'm not sure sort of who's where. There is various products available on the market, all the way from, you know, a really small provider that does quite simple customer management, all the way up to your sort of huge survey built-in, fully integrated systems. What is really important is just making sure that the information that you're providing, the communication, etc., is relevant. It's accurate for the relevant customer. I don't have a specific sway towards one product or another. It's really what works for you. But what I would say to you is, go ahead and do that customer segmentation piece of work. Even if you only spend an hour on it, it's going to be better than where you are right now. Chrissy, I can see that your dog's barking at you. It's going to be wherever you are now, it's going to level you up in terms of being able to customize that comms and really build that into your CRM or whichever system it is that you do want to use. But I'd really encourage you to just go deep with it and get customized.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Be quiet.
The postie always comes when you're about to talk, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Well, I had to barricade myself in because my cat keeps coming in the room, so I've barricaded a chair there. Was there any other questions whilst you've got me for just under 5 minutes?
We haven't got anything in the chat, but Alex, thanks, from the City of Geelong, has just put the survey in to the chat, so you can either complete that now, or we will resend that link in the email we'll send this afternoon at some point, given the recording downloads in time, and we'll send those templates straight over to you as soon as we can. So you can choose to complete that survey now or later. I think it looks like we've got any more questions, and I'll be sure to include your details, Claire, in the email. So if anyone has any further questions, they can just contact you directly.
Yeah, great. I think just to cap off, what I would say is, you know, don't be scared off by any of this. You're going to get all of the templates, all of the how-to instructions. Just have a go at it, make it fun, you know, try and enjoy the process. The more you learn about your customers, the more you'll be able to drive customer loyalty and really start to get customized with the service that you're delivering and the experiences that you're delivering. So just have a crack, basically. And as I said, Elise is going to provide my contact details. Be more than happy to answer any questions that pop up and provide any support that I can from my end. So a huge thank you to the Geelong Small Business Festival, to the various councils, to the City of Greater Geelong. Elise, thank you for all of your support. Thanks for everyone for making it along today. Have really appreciated your time, and I hope that you got something out of today's session, and hope to connect with you all again soon.
Wonderful. Thanks, Claire. And thanks, everyone, for putting up with the slight tech issues at the start. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.